Hello, how's it going, man?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very well, sir.
Is it downtime now?
A little bit, man. I think that was always kind of part of the plan for us. It's been kind of full steam ahead for quite a number of years. I thought, it's important for us to as people to just take a bit of a break from that and kind of work out and live a bit and just kind of start working on new music. That's kind of how it always goes. But this time we just wanted to do it at our pace, which has been quite nice.
Yeah. So what was that time like when you took time away? What have you actually been doing to fill time?
Well, to be fair, like we'd kind of toured the whole of last year, and this year we were in Japan at the very year, and then we went on a EU tour as well. So that kind of finished up at the maybe kind of midway through February or something like that. So kind of the whole time we just kind of be working on new music, working on our next project, which is now kind of starting to come together a little bit. So it's been good. It's been nice. It's nice to be at home as well. We're homebirds, so nice
Yeah,
to be at
yeah, yeah.
hone.
Has the heat wave reached Scotland this
Man,
week?
it's beautiful. That's why you very rarely catch me in a t-shirt, mate. This is like it's insane. It's honestly insane though, like because it's a fucking miserable country at the best of times. Um, but honestly, the minute that big guy in the sky comes out, like proper, everybody's happy, man. So it's a
Yeah.
real nice change, man.
No, definitely, definitely. So have you had time to kind of reflect on that Millennials kind of chapter of the Snuts now? Have you what do you think of it? Because third album, it's kind of like you're not the new kids anymore on the
Yeah,
block.
man.
You're not the new band. I feel like second and first you've got a bit of momentum, and then third you kind of
Yeah,
an
man.
established band then. So how was it and how is it looking back on it?
Yeah, it was nice. It happened at quite a fast pace, and a lot kind of changed within our lives as well. While making the record, and then while the record being out and touring it and stuff like that. So it was kind of like quite fitting to a lot of the themes of the record. Of course, that was like our first record we did independently, self-produced, and all these types of kind of changes that were different from the first couple of records was something that I think we just made a conscious decision of just kind of just to take it in our stride and just go full steam ahead with it. But it was quite kind of energy zapping that whole record in a good way, in a positive way as well. But yeah, I think it's kind of just taught us now that like we're capable of kind of making our own choices and sustaining this band as a business as well, which I think is like super important for young artists to start kind of being having that kind of knowledge available to them of how to actually make this sustainable as the industry becomes less and less sustainable. I think it's that record's kind of taught us how to do that and how to be healthy and how to keep doing this.
Yeah. So the going independent obviously has helped with that. Do you think it's made the band a bit more kind of ambitious in your sound as well? You kind of shackles off that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so, man. I think it's just more free, in a sense. I think we're certainly, like you say, not like the new kids on the block. So I think we feel like we know more what we're doing. In a sense, I think we know how to achieve the things we're trying to achieve, within the songs and within the sound. But it's certainly like I think so much change that us going independent happened at a really kind of a convenient time in a sense of like of where the industry is going as a whole and how bands perform inside this industry. So I think it's came at quite a fitting time for us. Like say there's so many venues closing. The kind of the constant battle that you're having with like streaming revenue and stuff like that. I think it's just allowed us to kind of understand all that a bit more, and just kind of try and make good decisions as a band.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you say that because I've spoke to a few people who are similar who kind of focusing a lot on the business elements.
Yeah, man.
Like you say, I think it's probably a sign of the industry that makes people do that. Do you enjoy that side of things though as well, taking that sort of view on it?
Yeah, I think so, man. I think because we come from like a trade working background, and it's kind of all we've ever known is like like being self-employed like all our lives. I think that's what it kind of can feel like at points in a band. You have to kind of be on top of that as much as possible. But yeah, like we're like best friends as well, and kind of always have been. So it's just kind of like just doing what we always do, but with less people we have to deal with, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Have to touch on the Hydro show.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
a 26 song set list, I think it was at the Hydro in December. Just tell me all about it. And was that the biggest moment of your career so far?
Yeah, I think so, man. Like I'm like an absolute perfectionist, so like the only thing I really was caring about was like how it was looking, how it was sounding. It was like it was super ambitious for a band, of where we're at in our career, to put on that type of show. I think that's something that as a band, like we've always kind of prided ourselves on, and stayed ambitious with that. I think inside indie music as a genre, if you like to kind of call it that, I think sometimes there's like kind of limitations and there's like a glass ceiling of what you can do inside a show. And I think we've always been kind of like trying to push those barriers down and stuff like that. So that show was like a big, for us, I think was a big kind of, a show of what we can do. It's something I've been working on that show like for probably for the January before it, and the show was in December. So it was like proper like 12 months of work to make that thing happen. And it was nice and it felt like it was a moment. It didn't feel like it was like an Instagram moment or like a let's film this moment it felt like it was just like this journey we'd been on with, a whole bunch of fans that we've kind of accumulated along the way and people who've been there from the start and who joined in the middle or who recently came. It felt like it was just an us and you moment together, which was nice.
Yeah. So you, after all the hard work leading up to it and all the effort put into the show, you were able to soak it in a bit when you were there.
A little bit. I generally don't do much of that, but yeah, that a little bit, man. It was cool.
Mm.
Everything happened the way that it was supposed to happen. I think inside the show, people were. I think you can generally tell when an audience feels satisfied, and that's always been a big part of what we try and do with a live show. I think we're very aware of what it costs people to come out to a show. It's not just a ticket. It's everything that comes with that. It's the night and experience. And I think it was important in that show for us to try and really deliver for the audience and the people who've been with us the whole time. But yeah, man, I kind of enjoyed it, man. Not my favorite show of all time, but it was cool.
Yeah, it's always been kind of evident as you progress. Really, I would say that you put effort into the show, that you put effort into the staging. And like you say, you kind of get that feeling back. Do you think you get out what you put in terms of that? Is that what you kind of say?
100%. I think that's like the lesson in music overall is kind of like what I've learned. As an artist, being through like a major label system, and like from a grassroots level to a major label, to then bringing it back down and getting to an independent kind of healthy place with it. I think that's a kind of lesson that I've learned that it has to be like from you. It has to be artist driven. You have to have the want to do that, and you have to be able to put the hours in to get it to that. I'm working with like a lot of artists at the moment on like a production level, and that's kind of what I'm always kind of trying to say. Like it has to come from you. You need to put this work in, because I think you learn pretty quickly in this industry. Nobody's going to just hand it to you, especially for like it depends. There's definitely situations where it can be handed to you, but for the majority, for the 99%, I think you have to have that desire, and then yeah, definitely what you put in, you end up getting back for sure.
We'll not delve too much into that 1%, and we'll
Yeah,
move forward.
I don't care anymore. Pass caring.
So you had the Hydro show in the back end of last year, and then you went straight into, you just mentioned kind of the Europe tour. I think that was with Nothing But Thieves, wasn't it?
Yeah, man.
What's it like transitioning from kind of going from that huge headline show and then sort of a different kind of tour? Then you're going on a support tour around Europe.
Yeah,
What was
man.
that like?
I think it's important for us, the band, is something that we've kind of consistently done, and been lucky to get those opportunities as well. I think that opportunities are so few and far between. I think for young acts now, and we've been lucky to have had a good share of that. But yeah, it's cool. I think kind of humbling in a sense. You always have to be. It kind of reminds you need to be sharp. And you need to be playing well. You have to be doing your thing well. So those tours I think can be really good for that. They're always kind of levelers. Um, yeah, man. So it's cool. Also, just like it's just nice. I think we've got a lot of support tours we've done have always been a lot of them anyway have been kind of like outside their comfort zone, in a sense of like kind of like a bit of genre bending and asking an audience who's not used to our specific sound or style to kind of get on board with it, which is it's kind of challenging in a good way.
Yeah. So what was the crowd reaction to you, do you think, when you were on that tour? Do you think a lot of people
Yeah,
knew you already, or was it playing to a new crowd?
it was quite like kind of quite unique places. I think for us we'd not been to a lot of these places, and like it was kind of a lot of Eastern Europe and stuff like that, bit of Scandinavia and stuff like that. So these are places that we'd never touched base on. But yeah, I feel like the reaction's kind of good. I think in a sense, I think our songs have always been designed in a way to try and capture, a kind of a thing that most humans should like.
Yeah. I noticed on the set list, I think you played quite a lot of new stuff, didn't you? On the support tour. I think
Yeah,
maybe it was just always in terms of kind of an older song. What's
yeah,
kind of the
man.
thought behind that? Is it that you're just confident in the new tunes? Is it that you had like, or is it you've maybe fallen out of love with some of the older tunes to be a bit cliche with it? What is that thought process?
Yeah, man. I think it's like just the momentum within the band and in the set and stuff like that. I think we do switch up quite often, like especially between like these kind of like chapters of the year for us. I think going into festival season, we like to know that we're going into something, we're going to play something totally different that we've just played here. And I think if you were like to come to like a headline Snuts show like last year and one this year, even though like the songs will be, you'll be hearing quite a lot of the same songs, they'll all be different versions and different inversions of them. The like fluidity of the show will be totally different within it. So I think that's a big part. It's something that I really enjoy. Is like putting that show together and trying to make sure that if someone's seen us before, this is a different era of that. With different sounds and different structures to the songs and stuff like that. Don't know if that's really boring. This is my
No,
life.
no, I think no, it always comes across as well, I think, in the shows. What was the best city you visited this year in your Europe tour?
Touring's funny, man, because like I think like this literally don't stop, man.
Mm,
Proper like, and I like write and record as well every day
yeah.
when we're on tour. So it's like literally, I stopped like being on. We don't really go on the road as much, and especially in Europe, it's always like I have like a big box that I pack like a mini studio into, and that goes everywhere. So I fly that between each city. So most of the time, it's like get to the place, play the sleep at the airport, get up, get to the next city, check in a hotel, set the studio up, play that for as long as possible, write as much possible, and then play the show and rinse repeat. So I never see anything. I don't really just see a hotel room. So
Yeah. So
I'd be doing. I don't want to do an injustice to anywhere that I've been there and say
yeah,
somewhere's
yeah.
better.
Well, it's
Boring
like we touched
answer.
on. Yeah, when we touched on the downtime stuff at the beginning, it's like I felt that because you talked about you writing straight away, then after that, and now you talk about on the tour. Do you find it hard to kind of leave it for a bit?
Yeah, I think so, man. I think like, but this certainly since the last record, there has been more of that. I've took quite a bit of time out, a sense like just collaborating and writing and producing with other young artists and stuff like that. Me and my mate Scotty, who we both done like the last Nuts record, we've been doing a lot of stuff with other acts and other artists and stuff like that. So I kind of spent like the last maybe like 6 months doing that, working on all these different projects. It's just been a nice like kind of for me way to sharpen the tools a bit, and just enjoy that side of it because it's just like get to make music and then there's no consequence of that music in a sense for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's been cool. Like I think just constantly making music's the thing that I love doing, and everything else is quite like is a much more intense side that can be like much more like the touring especially is like so much more like straining on the rest of your life, whereas like just making the music's a bit that you absolutely love doing. So it's been cool. Like, but again, like all in the last couple of years, like all the boys have all like we've all got married, all had kids. So it's like it's been nice to be kind of in control of like the time that we have to spend on music and the time that we have to just be at home and be husbands and be fathers and stuff like that, which is a whole new challenge as well for being in a band. So it's been cool though, man.
So I didn't realize you were all so you're all kind of in the same sort of family situations as well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I
We
suppose
just do
that
everything.
that helps,
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
it?
man. Totally. Like Jordan was the first to have his kid. It's kind of we were right in the middle. Like we've been like been in months in America and stuff like that. Well, like our girlfriends or wives have been pregnant or had just had a kid and stuff like that. So it's just kind of been getting through all that hard stuff together. So I think it's
Mm.
been cool, man. I think it's like all these things, like being in a band, I think can be quite tough. Like relationship wise, especially if you've been with each other every day, it's a very odd situation to like grow up with three other people and then like never leave them and then just like just being do the same job as them and be with them every day and stuff like that. So you've got to like kind of, it's been nice for us just to try and like work through the kind of ebbs and flows that come with that.
Yeah, it's kind of family life influenced the music as well.
Yeah, I think
like
so.
your
I think
songwriting.
I think that we're just about to start the next project. We've got like got a lot of songs that are kind of there ready to be taken to the place where they need to go. So that's about to start. And kind of is starting, but there's a point where I'm like, this is starting. But yeah, it's exciting, man. I think all these life experiences, and I think it was important for us to take a small break after Millennials to like live a bit because you're not writing the same thing over and over again. But again, it's so funny because it's like there's this weird expectation of like bands to like make a record almost every year and then tour it at the whole time. And I don't think that there's like an understanding of the time that takes and the pressures and the strain on your mentality that like writing and recording and touring for 12 months a year every year. It's fucking insane. So yeah, we just decided like we're an independent band. We have this choice to like take a bit of time and make this next record whatever it was going to be. Make it quite special and keep trying to be as honest as possible within the songs and put it out in a way that feels like nourishing for us and nourishing for fans and like break the mold of here comes an album, here comes 4 singles. The album will be with you in 9 months, and then when it's out, it's kind of like that's it out, and then you better tour it, and then there's just like this. I think because we've been around the block with it, I think we now kind of crave doing it a different way. So I think that's probably what people will notice most.
Yeah.
When this like next wave of Snuts music comes, it'll be quite different.
Yeah, it's interesting you said about people kind of not understanding that strain of the constant like nature of it, and
Yeah,
there's been particular things at the minute, around Sam Fender and people about his voice and the way he's tried to look after his voice and having to cancel shows and adapting. And I've spoke to people about that, and they say the same. There's just no real understanding of what it takes. Like, what's your perspective on that? How do you deal with that side of things?
It's a funny one. I think I don't think I think there is like such a blessing of being able to do what you love for a living. So I think that like that's always going to be a huge part of it, and this stuff comes with that, and it's unfair to expect people to be able to kind of empathize with that and acknowledge it in a sense. But it's across the board that like how many shows all your favorite acts they had. I reckon that every act almost apart from the machines like the Coldplays and these these acts who are just like absolute machines. I think you very rarely see now a young artist be able to make it for a full tour without having to cancel 1 or 2 shows. And it's just simple things like, see, when you get the cold, that's your voice done for a couple of days. And what you end up doing is you go, I've got to sing anyway. And then you prolong the recovery. And you'll find now, like, you start off in this game that everybody's like, cool, this is a party, we get to party. But you can't, like, all singers now live like fucking monks. That's just how it is. Got to be healthy all the time. You like, no, there's just no debauchery left in it. So I think it's a product also of like there just being less spoils within the industry as well, like less paychecks. I think if tours and record sales were making what they were making 20 years ago, which again it doesn't really matter because it's not, but I think there'd be more in place for artists to be much more comfortable and not have to put themselves through things that are ultimately damaging, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. So you've had to put down the book fast during these tours.
Brutal, man. But it's like those are they're goners for me. Like, but again, I like to think that like for us, like in this band, that is a proper journey just through our lives as well because it's been the whole life. So it's nice. Like all these things are like naturally just going to kind of come and go and change and stuff like that with it. But yeah, Buckfast is a goner for me.
Yeah, you touched on festival season just then, so we'll come on to that now. I think you've got a show in Middlesbrough next month, and then it's straight into Neighbourhood Weekender. So we'll talk about that festival because it's been such a big festival for indie, and it's kind of, I think 2018, similar time to when you started coming through. It's kind of followed a similar trajectory to the Snuts, I think. What's your feelings about the festival and playing it before and things like that?
Yeah, sick man. I think it's always been like a really kind of welcoming place for us as a band. I think when we first started out doing this, it was always a real struggle for any band to make it out of Scotland. That was always like our ambition as well. As much as we love it here, we watched all our predecessors and the bands that we loved at a grassroots level never been able to kind of break through and get into that. So I think like festivals like Neighbourhood have been great for like it's not just like a festival like London bands or whatever. Um, it's like I think it really does like support a lot of like the northern acts, which I think is important, and I think probably we need to see as much of that as possible.
I remember, I think it was a couple of years ago, I think it was a set you played in the big top, the under the tent.
Yeah,
Just,
man.
it's one of the best times I've seen you, I think, because it was
Sick, man.
in my head, it was Don't Forget It Punk, and I just remember looking around and everyone was going off.
Nice, man.
What are the? I know if I asked you for like kind of the best band, you wouldn't say Northern English because obviously you'd say Scottish. But
Yeah,
what
man.
are the Northern crowds like for you?
Yeah, I like it, man. Like I say, like super welcoming as well. I think as well, I think that they certainly know what they like, which I think is important for like for festivals and stuff like that. I think more like specific festivals are really good for fans. I think they get a lot of value for like the money they pay for a ticket. If you look at like some of the big festivals, because like of course there's like an element of like you have to have like genre spanning stuff, but then you can find people going to a festival and not being able to see as much as they want because there's just too much variation almost. So I think these like definitely fans in Northern England. I think they know what they like, and they've also been like quite accepting of what we do as a band. Because I think I think us as a band have always like we're kind of like always relatively experimenting with the next project and the next record and the next set of sounds. And I don't think it always necessarily just falls under, like two guitars, a bass, and a drums kind of situation. There's quite a
Yeah.
lot more to our sound, and I think with the fans at these festivals and Northern fans and English fans, I think have been quite accepting of that, which is I don't know if that makes sense, but it's quite nice to know that
No.
they're willing to kind of let us do our thing and be part of it, and
Mm.
not say just do that first thing that you liked,
Yeah.
just because I think indie fans can be very very guilty of that. I've been like, we like that first thing you did, so just keep doing that, or we won't be on board. Where I think we've
Yeah.
been,
Yeah.
really grateful that fans have always kind of let us do our thing.
Yeah. And you have definitely changed it up, haven't you? So from album to album, so
Yeah,
it's
man.
good that people have stuck by that. Like you said,
So
people
man,
can
wait
be
to hear this next shit.
well,
This
we'll come
next
on to
stuff's
that in a
crazy.
second. um, uh, will we hear any new music at Neighbourhood this year?
mm, when is it?
Next month?
Next month, possibly, man.
Oh, I was
Possibly.
expecting that to be a straight no then when you
Yeah,
realise it's next
honestly,
month.
we never know. I think we've got quite a lot of studio time. Like the boys have just left my studio right there because I was like, "Fuck, I've
Mm.
got a Zoom." So we're kind of hard at it. But we'll see, man. I like also like super fluid. Like I think with this next set of music, it's going to be like quite a lot of just like dropping music. That's what I want to do. I don't want to be like, fucking pre-save this 3 months before it, and here's like 1,000 TikToks to try and make you like it.
Yeah.
There's going to be a whole new thing.
Mm.
That's going to be just I think just a way that we want to do it now. So hopefully, like the plan is for this year for music just to be kind of falling out of the sky, hopefully,
Mm.
and just kind of seeing where it lands for people. And they
Yeah.
might like it and they might not, but I think they'll like it.
Fingers crossed. I'm sure they
Yeah,
will.
man.
Do you know if you're on the main stage at Neighbourhood this year? Is it? Or do you not know off the top of your head? I don't know. I don't know if they've even
What?
announced stage splits. I just know that I saw you in the tent last time, so I assumed you'd be
Yeah, man. I
main
think
stage.
I think we're actually playing like two that day.
Okay,
I think we're playing like I think there's like a live at Leeds or something happening that day.
that's the day after you, I think. Or are you
So
both? Is that both on the
we're
same
we're
day?
we're playing both those shows on the same day, which I've never done before, so that'll be pretty wild.
Yeah,
So
that
I
should be
think we're
fun.
quite. I think we may be earlier and at Neighbourhood, and
Mm.
then jumping in the van and getting to Leeds. I think
Yeah, I think you're
for a
headlining
late
one of the
night one.
stages at live at Leeds, aren't you?
Pretty wild. I don't really know how that happened. It sounds like something I agreed. Sounds like something I agreed to when I was really busy. But no, I think it'd be cool, man. Again, it's like just try to keep it fresh and that. I think that could be quite exciting for us, just a band, be like jump off one stage onto the next one, and
Yeah,
fuck
two,
knows, man.
two completely different set lists as well.
Fuck, no chance. Exactly the same.
Yeah. Let's touch on the new stuff then. How are we? How is it sounding coming into this new chapter? How will it build from Millennials?
Yeah, it'll be different for sure. I think that's always the first port of call when we start doing something new, a new project. That's like it won't be that the same way that Millennials wasn't Burn the Empire and Burn the Empire wasn't WL. It will be like that. I'll kind of continue that theme of like try to do something different. And I think it's mostly just for fulfillment as well. I think that's such an important part of why we do this is to like be it's the bit that's kind of missing and we always want to fill that. So yeah, the new music I think like I'll be a bit how do I say it? How do I say it without saying too much? Because it's still in its infancy. Um but yeah, man, I think it'll be a different side. I think it'll probably be like a more I think it'll probably be a softer side, I would
Okay.
say. Which I think will be quite cool. It won't be like four at the floor.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be super electronic. I
Okay.
think it'll be like a much more so far for what I've written, but that's could all change. But so far, what's written and made, that's like a kind of more kind of organic, kind of stripped back version of what we do, which could be cool.
Okay. So it's kind of
Um,
softer in terms of sound and lyrics as well, maybe, or is it?
probably more conceptually softer, I would say.
Okay.
Um, and sounds and stuff like that. I think like are still they're still in a place where they can all change. I think you can always present it and put a different jacket on any song really. So it's just about pulling that stuff together now. But yeah, man, it's in its infancy, and I just want it to feel like it's just like a project, and it's not like here comes a big record. I just want to be able to put music out. I feel like as artists now we've been kind of stopped. Like our output's been kind of stopped by like the boundaries that are put on us by like these platforms that we now use to fucking put our music out.
Mm.
So like try to fit how you feel into a 1 minute fucking Instagram reel or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just like something that just doesn't feel good to me. I've never felt good about that type of thing. So next time round it's going to be like just music falling
Mm.
in random places. And then hopefully just like cater for the people that do love what we do and anybody else that likes it is kind of welcome to join. But that's the vibe.
Yeah. Is it hard to kind of balance trying to kind of relax, take your time with the project and get it right with the need for like the business elements, like you said previously? Is it hard to juggle that?
I think so, but again, like, I feel like just try to stay confident in like what you're doing and
Yeah.
and just not being kind of like not being kind of swerved by like these pressures. I think overall is the main
Mm.
one. I mean, I don't need anything. Also, I just like as long as I've got like my music and shit like that, and my family's good. Like we don't need we're not trying to like get Lamborghinis or anything. We like properly try to just kind of make an art that we love. So yeah, just try to keep the intention pure in what we're doing, and I think you'll definitely feel that in this next project. It'll be like it's all intention and it's all kind of coming from an honest place, and that's kind of what I think. That's people crave that, man. I think that's what I crave in music, to know that it comes from a real place and from a real person, like with real struggles and stuff like that. And right now, like we're kind of bombarded with nonsense, like 24/7. Not just music, like just bombarded with fucking nonsense every minute, every day. And I'm like, I want to try and create something that allows people to take a break from that fucking
Yeah.
nonsense as a
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
You're the first to hear that though, man. So,
Well,
you
well,
know,
I don't believe for a second you're not been razzing around West Lothian in Lamborghinis, though. I'm not having
nah, mate, I can't even drive, mate. I don't even drive.
Yeah, fair.
I literally just passed my theory test like 2 weeks ago.
Well, nice. Congratulations.
Thanks, mate.
You're on the path. You're on the path to the
I'm-
Lamborghini now.
That's it, mate. That's it.
So when can we? Well, you're taking your time, I suppose. There's no date set in terms of planning for the release, then, or the
Yeah,
next
man.
sing. That
Nah, no plans. Like, what probably like more likely to see is like, okay, I want to try and let more people into the process more because it's a kind of bit of love, and I think that's when we can be at our best as well.
yeah,
So hopefully, like, there's going to be in the next 3 4 months, I think, and well,
yeah,
who knows, could be next week, who knows, but there's going to be like a lot more kind of
yeah,
just kind of like opening the door a wee bit. I think it's important as
yeah.
well for a band to just be allowed to go away. I think we've been really lucky to do that.
Mm.
Um, not even been away long, but but yeah, no, I'm going to try and open the doors much and let fans see kind of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and
Yeah.
if it works for them, and that's the kind of vibe.
Yeah. And you talked about collaborating and producing and things like that. Can we expect collaborations on the next project? I know
I
you've done
hope
this
so,
before.
man. Yeah, man, I hope so, man. That's kind of like where I'd like to get with it.
Mm.
But for sure, man, that's kind of like that's where the more that we do that as artists, like the more chance we all have of kind of
Uh,
making the things that we want to make. So yeah, man, I think there will be kind of we're just like this next project's a real kind of open book.
yeah.
Um, and I think it's gonna be fun, man. Feeling good
Yeah.
about it.
No, exciting times.
Thanks,
I'm
man.
going to take it back to 2018 for just a quick minute because uh, I did a phone interview with you in 2018, kind of before everything blew up, really. And I asked you what you kind of wanted the perception of the Snuts to be. So I want to see if this
Oh
still
God.
aligns with your. So you said music without gimmicks, no fancy dress code on stage, playing a style that will appeal to a mass audience. How do you think?
Definitely dressed differently.
Yeah. So,
Definitely be more fashion elements, but not in a crazy way, man. But
no?
I think definitely the last line is super like super still relevant. I think that's always been in our mind. But again, we've been really lucky that people have allowed us to like keep pushing it as well, which is like such a blessing. I think as a band, definitely don't feel tied to a sound, but when the songs are being made, they're still made with that the general public in mind. Like, what would I want to hear? Like, put myself in their shoes. Like, what do we want to kind of achieve with this? So, read it out to me again. Let's
One
see.
second. It was It was music without gimmicks, no fancy dress code on stage, and music that will appeal to a mass audience. Style of music that would appeal to a mass audience.
Oh God, I think the first two definitely fucked that one up a bit, but the last one definitely. Nah, we don't have gimmicks, but again, we push it more.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I get
nah,
that.
nah. I think it's kind of roughly on the right. I think there's been a nice, like a
Mm.
healthy amount of development as a band, and to the point where we actually want to make new stuff and still want to push it a bit. I do fucking kind of hate a lot of indie music that never changes.
Mm.
That's just me personally, and my opinion means nothing. But just as as a music lover, I just hate when there's one thing, and like
Yeah.
that's cool, and I get that people do love that, but I hate that.
Mm.
And that's all right. And I want people to like hate what we do as well. That's so important. I think you should be allowed, like everybody should be allowed to like
Yeah.
stuff and hate it, and that's cool as well.
Mm.
But
No.
yeah, man.
No, I think yeah, with that the last bit about the style, I think that was evident immediately after album one. Like it changed, you kind of changed it up, but it was it was always in a positive way. I thought it was
Yeah, man.
everything you've been doing is building kind of thing.
Thanks, man.
Maybe it's Somerset House. I think is the only other thing you've
Yeah,
got
man.
on the.
Sick, man.
What's that seems like a quite rogue
Yeah, well,
genre.
that's it. Like, I think kind of like my kind of chat has been like with the boys and with like our general wider team is like, want to do things that are exciting for fans.
Yeah.
I've always like never want to be the band that does the same tour every year, with the same songs, with the same set, the same banner on the back. So I think like that's kind of the ones that I kind of like making an exception for this year is like ones that I feel like if I was going to see a band that I loved, I'd love to see them in this setting, in this type of venue, or I don't think like I just don't want to do that all the time. Like I just don't want to give people the same thing and ask for more money because that's how much it costs. It's more money than it was last year.
Mm.
So yeah, just try to take on like interesting venues where there's like that more kind of shared experience between us and the fans.
Yeah.
Just kind of yeah, man. Just try to keep it new and fresh and exciting all the time. I'm a nightmare, mate. I've got a specific way that I like to do things.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's it, man. I just felt like a fun show. I like checked it out.
No.
A lot of artists I really like.
Yeah.
I've done it and looked like they've done a great job with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, just thought fuck it, let's do that. I think we're playing like a one-off in Middlesbrough also.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
before Neighbourhood, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, man, just because like we always like to do that. I think we've kind of got in the habit of doing that
Mm.
on the way down. It's like where can we
Mm.
stop? Um,
Middlesbrough.
it's like yeah, man. It's just like is that even on the way down? It's on the way down, yeah.
Yeah. It's just a northeast.
Yeah, man. So it's like just nice to stop and like and you're not kind of going into a festival like with a start-stop attitude. You're kind of rolling in,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. So that was a kind of vibe, and I think we played it before and really enjoyed the show. So yeah, that's kind of it, man. And
Yeah.
then like with this new music that's going to be following, there's going to be like more fucking kind of like niche and exciting kind of like venues. It's kind of the
Yeah.
vibe that I want to go down, and just like keep mixing it up and keep it fresh for us. Or I
Yeah.
would just like if it wasn't fresh out in the road as well, I would just sit in the studio all day and find another way to make music, because it needs to
Yeah.
just be like fun and exciting for us too.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about those types of venue. I know like you played you did the album launch in Stirling Castle, didn't you?
Yeah, man.
Initially. That's that kind of vibe from the outset.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah, there's loads of places like Peace Hall in Halifax, places like that that are
Nice.
just like really nice venues. So yeah, it's interesting that you're thinking down that route.
Totally, man. I think that's a kind of vibe, like, and just like I want people to be able to like ultimately like we're all sharing that experience in live music, and I think it's like such a precious thing in the way that it can be stamped out so quickly.
Mm.
And like how you can feel like the fucking ember's still burning, but people want to fucking kick one away. So it's like I think it's like wanting to make sure that people and ourselves like get to keep doing this in an exciting way, and not just like fucking be painting by numbers every year on a tour.
Yeah.
And whether that's like that could be a downfall or it couldn't, I don't know. But like just try to be like you can see it, man. You can see it across the board that like even putting on these tours like across like if you want to be a band and just ripping an academy tour every year, even the cost of that is like getting so insane for the
Yeah.
band. And to put on like so it's insane just to even turn up and play. The cost of that, the travel, the getting in, the time that everybody's took their car, it's insane.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you want to bring up like I want to bring a fucking full scale fucking production in and make it a mad one. So it's like it's
Yeah.
quite insane the cost of doing that. So it's like I want
Mm.
to just keep trying to do exciting things and make people like actually want to come and like remember it for the right reasons and share that experience with their best friend or their partner
Mm.
or whatever. So it's like
Yeah.
that's what surely that's their job. Like, I think as artists to try and create that environment. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I want to try and do. I sound like a dick today, man, but I'm off
Nah,
a high. I'm on a
no, I
high.
don't
We've
think
just
you,
been
you
maybe been
I don't think you
bashing
do.
tunes.
No, it's right. What needs to be done to make that easier though, that process, that to not make it such like a hard thing to do an academy tour, to what can be done?
But it's a hard one, isn't it, man? It really is a hard one now because I probably spent like maybe before last year, years before that, getting quite frustrated and quite bitter about it and stuff like that, and like wanting to be raising my voice about the things that I think are wrong inside the industry or whatever. And then so at that point, I'm like the kind of like the bitterness is becoming like a kind of wasted breath for me anyway. I think like I want to just try and at least do what I can, and that's like where I'm at. Where it's like, what can I do to make it better for things I can directly affect, and that if that's like like we done it like when it came to the first tour after COVID, we like fucking like slashed the ticket prices and upscaled the production massive. We lost like 80 grand on that tour. Played for like
Wow.
2.5 weeks and lost everything. Never made a penny. Lost money that we've been like working for our whole life.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
But it's like stuff like that. But it's like people haven't been to a gig in a couple of
Mm.
years, and like we've not played like a show like this, and I want people to want to come back again and stuff like that. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm trying to now think like instead of going like fuck this corporation and fuck that guy and fuck this person, like just try and do what we can to make it good for what kind of we place that we exist inside the industry. I think like supporting small venues is a good thing. Supporting the venues that the bigger artists aren't coming to is a
Yeah.
great thing. Not rinsing your fans really hard is a good thing. I think I'm going to see quite a lot of that in the coming years because
Mm.
they're like the backbone of bands, and then there's a line that you can push people. I think so. Trying not to ever do that. Like
Yeah.
trying not to sell them too much. Try to sell them too much stuff they don't need. Uh,
Yeah.
lots of things, man. But I think like
Yeah.
for me now, I'm at a place in our career where I'm like I just want to try and affect the things that we can affect, and if we can support,
Yeah.
the grassroots where we can. Let's like we're certainly always going to try and do that.
Yeah. It's quite sad because the ripping off of fans and that kind of thing tends to be done more by the people who definitely don't need to be doing it, and then
Totally,
people
man.
are setting an example of
It is.
others.
That's what it becomes, man. It becomes like setting the precedent of like this is it. And bands just can be really lucky because they have such like a cult following, such a loyal fan base. And one thing we've always really tried hard to be conscious of is like not ripping them off hard, ever.
Yeah.
But I mean, needs a must for a lot of bands right now. You're going to see a lot of bands having to probably do more and ask for more because of the strains of the industry above.
Mm.
But fuck knows, man. I don't have an answer for that. I think sometimes now everybody has an answer. Like, what can we do? And it's like, just gotta
Yeah.
keep doing it, man. Keep making songs that people care about. Or try to, and
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
You caught me on a
So-
massive high, mate. We've been fucking bashing tunes for like 8 o'clock this morning, and I should
No,
do like just bouncing about this studio, just gone mental. So I was like, fuck. So
no, no, it's
I'm on,
much appreciated. No,
I'm
thanks very
on
much
my
for your time.
madness, mate. I'm on my madness today.
No. Thanks very much for your time, and obviously best of
Easy,
luck
man.
with the next album, and obviously dates coming up, festivals, shows, etc. All
Thank,
good.
man. Good to
Cheers.
speak to you again, man. Take care.
You too. Cheers. Thanks very
Bye
much.
bye.